We have on Skype Kimani Kuria, who is Molo Member of Parliament, and on phone, Nyeri Town Member of Parliament Ngunjiri Wambugu, who will be joining us a little bit later. But first, let me start with you, Mheshimiwa Kimani Kuria. If one is to judge objectively what is happening in the ruling Jubilee Party, in your own assessment, are the polls over? Is it over and done for the ruling party?
First of all, good evening and Eid Mubarak.
Thank you, thank you.
On to your question, elections are 2 years now. This is the year 2020 and we are 2 years from next election. And what is happening, a preparation of up to 10. There's the assumption that everything is over, that is over, cannot be more misleading.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening, the party is preparing itself, and at the end of the day, we're going to come up with a strategy that is going to use the next years, and even the way we are going to do in the next election, that is in 2022.
If you are to look at what's happening now, it looks more than preparations, isn't it? One will easily say it is rather demolitions of the party.
It depends. If you look at it from the point of view of an outsider, then you could say that.
Mm-hmm.
But remember that long before I was elected a member of parliament, long before we talked about Jubilee Party, there were people who sat down and wound up their parties and formed one political party called Jubilee.
Mm-hmm. And
those people that we would say are the owners of their party are the ones, whether they are flexing their muscles or they're cleaning their house, that's what they're doing. And every process, every political process out there must be strategic. Mm-hmm. Because trust you me, there is no way anybody, especially a party leader or party officials, can wake up one day and decide on a particular decision. It means there is a path to a particular direction, and what you and I need to do is wait to see which that destination is going to be. And it's not the first time this is
observably, is that direction a direction led by the president? And if yes, is he leading alone?
Sorry?
Observably, that direction that you are talking of is led by the president, and if yes, is he leading alone?
That is very hard to tell, and until that time that the president actually comes out and says that he's doing it alone, then we would say that he is doing alone. Mm-hmm. But the only thing that we can do now is speculate. Because again, he cannot, there is no, for example, there has not been any letter that has been written to either the Senate or to anybody by the party leader himself. Most of these communications have been done by particular party organs.
Uh-huh.
And therefore, the thinking that the president is doing this alone cannot be more misleading.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are strategizing, and it cannot be the president alone, because if it were the president, like every time the president himself has had a communication to make to the republic, he has come out himself, including the day where he comes up and says, this is what you're going to do, this is the economic stimulus that we're going to do for the country, whether we are locking down or not. He has more often than not spoken himself. And therefore, the dream that we, I would say as a member of the party had, was with organs, with a vision, with a mission, with a strategy.
You say there are members who could be strategizing. Let me interject you at that point, Kimani Kuria. You say there are members who could be strategizing. Are these members strategizing for the betterment of the party or to axe out some? In your own observation again.
In my own observation, the strategy might entail acting out some people and replacing them with others. Because every time, remember when you're going to look for a job, for example, you go through your experience, go through education, and there are things that you say, I want this on my CV, I want this out of my CV. And so the party then thought that it needs to move in a particular direction. And I'll tell you, Mr. Bakar, at the beginning of the term, we were called at State House. Mm-hmm. And we were read out, so this is the direction the party is going to take.
Uh-huh.
And for the last and for quite some time, then it was the right direction to take. And so, if then the decision again to depart from that particular decision that there was at first to another one is also a strategy, and that means asking some people, yes, that's likely to happen. But also there are going to be other people that are going to come on board, and it doesn't also necessarily mean that those that have been asked out are destroyed, because remember, everyone is elected first to represent their constituents.
Fair enough.
When I go to first, I am going to represent the people of Mono. So anything else that I get over and above my representation of the people of Mono is the pleasure of the party.
All right, and who determines at that point?
People have been destroyed.
At that point, who determines the direction the party takes? Is it exclusively in the hands of the party head, in this case, the president?
I would say it will solely be on the owner of the party.
And who is the owner in this case?
And the owner of the party, the assumption here we're making is that this president. But remember also that you believe presidents, the Jubilee government was formed between two, by the joining of hands of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the deputy, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto. And so my assumption would be that that direction would be a direction taken by the party owners. And to the best of my knowledge, then those are the party owners.
And if you were to read the communication or the lack of it between the deputy and the head, will it be fair to say that they are leading in different direction in as far as the party is concerned?
I would say that there is a lot that's not being shown out there. There is a lot of cards that are under the table. And to be honest, it's very difficult to tell who is not showing who has which card they're not showing the other. But there was an agreement, for example, that it was going to be a government of Jubilee and it was going to be led by the President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the deputy would be William Samoei Ruto. To the best of my knowledge, Dr. William Ruto remains the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, and that has not changed. On whether or not there is communication, it's not. As you said, we can only speculate. And during 1-2 mini meetings, the president has said that his choice in the next election will surprise everyone. That he's in control. So surprising everyone could also mean that yes, what you're saying that they're not together, that is a possibility. But that choice would also mean that at the right time, because the president has always been opposed to politicking. And so maybe, I said maybe when time will come for politicking, maybe the president will support the deputy president in the next election. But anything outside that is that speculation.
Kimani Kuria, you bring out the aspect of the president saying he wants his choice to be a surprise. But if you flip the pages again, there's a time he said, let me be done by my 10 years. Ruto will come and do his 10 years. That is a statement he equally uttered, isn't it?
That's true. And my statement on that his choice could surprise us, because there's something that everyone is making, including yourself and I, is that there is no communication, there is no longer any communication between the president and the deputy president. Okay? And so what we seem to be assuming is that the president has departed from his promise of yangu kumi, yako kumi. So in my thinking, the statement that the president's choice could surprise us would actually mean that he could go back to what he promised and actually deliver it, even if we think that he wouldn't. Yes.
All right. For the last 1 week, there are words equally as the action at the Senate was happening. There are words that have been used. For instance, house cleaning. I wonder, you may not be the one who has uttered exactly these words or used them in public, but your colleagues from the same party have, in many instances, referred to what's happening as house cleaning, which begs the question, where did the dirt come from if at all the house needs to be cleaned, politically at least?
In politics, in addition to, and I'll give you this perspective. From the president's perspective, from the deputy president perspective, they're looking at the countrywide approach. So the government's worry, or the Jubilee government's worry, should be about the welfare of the people of Mombasa all the way to the welfare of the people of Kisumu. But I'm thinking of the member of parliament for Molo. My thinking is about first the welfare of my people and my political ambition. Okay, and sometimes maybe there was a feeling that some of those aspirations not agree to the aspirations of the party, and that's why maybe that decision was made. But this, and again, I'll say, there was no reason that was given why we should vote in a particular way. So in the same way, then, the voting in a different way did not have to have any particular reason. Okay, and for me, it's also a chance for these, especially young leaders like Senator Murkomen, our Senator Susan Keheka, Professor Kivure, to also redefine themselves and do something different, meaning a term of the 2 years, and even to their constituents. So that is not necessarily that. It's just a different approach to issues, showing that we need to move in a particular way and we need to look at things in a particular way.
And how much of the ambition of a 2022 succession politics did the Action have a hand in?
Sorry? I didn't get that.
How much of 2022 succession intentions could have had hand in the action of some of these leaders from their posts?
In my view, the president's mind is in what to deliver to Kenyans in these 5 years. Because many times he has said that he's going to retire in the next election. But obviously, the mind of many of us that are going to remain in government or hope to remain in politics post-22 is not just now, but how it's going to be in the next election. And I think that is a disconnect we have in Jubilee. How do we marry the president's thought that I am here for these remaining 2 years and I'm not in government again? And why now relate now as a member of the party and with my ambition post-2022? Because I still want to go into parliament or to other position in the next election.
Well, in the first term of the Jubilee government, it was clear-cut of who was doing what, and as far as the roles are concerned. Why then is it coming out now? Is it the timing of the next election that is influencing these differences?
I think it's coming up now because this is the midterm. It's like halftime. When we're in a March and during halftime, that's the most appropriate time to change particular players. And if you look, we have done 2.5 years as Jubilee government, and you have 2.5 more remaining. So you want to see how different can you do this last half of your term? So I think it's just that we're in the middle of it, and in the middle of it, this is where you can make good the wrongs, and you can turn things around. There's still time, because before then, before 2020 would have been too early, and after this year would be too late. So I think it's just the correct time because it's the middle of the term. And if you see, we've been able, or Jubilee government has been able to execute two budgets and only three budgets and only 2 budgets remaining. And so if there are only 2 budgets remaining and there are things that you want to achieve, then this is the correct time to change your soldiers, those people that you feel you're comfortable with and you feel are going to help you deliver in your mandate.
All right, you clearly put it that it is half time. There is still more years, and as far as 2022 politics is concerned. Nonetheless, where then does this leave the common Mwananchi who, by numbers, elected this government, at least as per the figures IEBC released, the millions who voted for the president and his deputy?
That is the people that we should sympathize with, because we have people that have been evicted from their homes in Kariobangi. We have people that are dying of floods. There are people that are affected by COVID 2019, by coronavirus or COVID 2019. Mm-hmm. And now that is the next step that we're going to look at. Now that we or the party has cleaned, and I say cleaned, has cleaned the house, mm-hmm. then how do we deliver to the people? Mm-hmm. If you feel that particular individuals, by their capacity in their offices, were not facilitating the delivery of the government agenda, then this is now the time to focus now on the people. Mm-hmm. Because if you want somebody to send somebody on a mission, you need to make sure that that is a person you are convinced and convicted is the right person for the job.
And what justification is there?
You change them, you delete people.
All right, and what justification is there to guarantee and warrant a service delivery rather than sympathize with Kenyans? And as far as the new leadership, those who have been put in some of these positions is concerned, is there any justification that service will get to the people now?
I think there's not going to be an excuse for not serving people, mm-hmm. for service delivery. Because if you have the mandate of the people for the job, then there's not the excuse to not have. And if you look at even the decisions in the last few weeks, mm-hmm. the economic stimulus pact supposed to go to in employing our people, in making sure that our roads are fixed and so much development happens to the people, mm-hmm. then if that is actually actualized, then you're going to say that this happened for the good. But mm-hmm. it's going to be also a very tight test. It's mm-hmm. going to be a very tight acid test for the government and for the executive. Mm-hmm. Because if the event then that the needs of the people are therefore not addressed, and people feel that the Jubilee government did not serve their needs, mm-hmm. then those changes that were made would have been now correctly justified as having been very political.
All right.
And not justified.
All right, Kimani Kuria, Molo Member of Parliament, you talk of service delivery. There are those who equally observe this as politics of alignment after realignment ahead of any other normal election. What's your view in that? Could the changes be because of realigning again? Politicians
will and always politic, mm-hmm. because that's why we are called politicians. Mm-hmm. And so unfortunately, it's a reality that we have to deal with. Politics is going to be our order of the day. Mm-hmm. And there's also politics, as I say, politics is a game of interest. And a game of interest is there's a lot of interest, especially now, during this transition period from one presidency to the other. Mm-hmm. And therefore, politics will become the order of the day, whether we like it or not. Pre-COVID, there is always politics.
You talk of the classical definition of what politics is, of course, interest. How much of a problem is this interest then causing within your party?
Sorry, how much of this interest is it causing?
No, how much of a problem is this politics of interest in the ruling Jubilee party causing to the party itself?
To be fair with you, I really sympathize with my party, and I feel I'm not happy with the progress that we're making as a party. Mm-hmm. But I think there is still time for us to correct where we've gone wrong. But the damages we're doing, and look at our competitors. Our competitors in Jubilee have always been ODM. ODM appear to be organized, to be orderly, and they have a direction that they know they're going to take. Mm-hmm. When they enter the handshake, they are firmly into the handshake. Mm-hmm. But Jubilee government, but on the Jubilee side, we don't seem to be in sync, to be speaking the same language. Mm-hmm. So it's a very trying moment for my party. But I'm hoping that the next few weeks that these uncertainties, these speculations are going to end, and we're going to have one clear direction in which direction our party is going to go.
All right, Kimani Kuria, the party talks of wanting to create a government that is inclusive of everyone, a government of national unity for these purposes. If you introspectively look at the party, it's divided at the heart. How do you create order from an internal disorder?
The way you create order from an internal disorder is by first treating your internal disorder.
But that's not the case, is it? The internal disorder is not being treated as of now.
the disorder is already there. To be honest, as you rightly put, Jubilee appears to be very divided. So the first thing that you need to do is clear that up, treat this internal disorder. And once you clear this internal disorder, you have a common direction, you have a common strategy, you have a common path in how you're going to go. Then after that, then you can form a government of national unity, as you're going to say. But this inclusivity again needs to be inclusivity of the Wanjiku, of the normal Mwananchi. And unfortunately, the understanding of us as politicians, especially as politicians, of inclusivity is us being in government. The thinking behind inclusivity of politicians, let me not belabor it, is in the thinking that we must be the ones in government. And therefore, that's why you will hear a lot from our colleagues from ODM saying that we are now in government. But inclusivity does not necessarily mean being in government. Inclusivity would mean that your idea and mine, we can put on the table and agree which is a better idea for the people of the Republic of Kenya. And once we there, then you're going to have an inclusive government. And I think this is the wake up for us as leaders and for Wananchi, that we don't put our interests as first, that we don't think that we stop taking it like for us to have an inclusive government. We ourselves, or I myself, must be in that particular government, and taking views of every Kenyan if possible, and having those views, the ones that most count, being implemented, not wondering where idea came from ODM, or came from Wiper, or came from Tanga, or came from or came from whatever. As long as at that point,
let me ask you this question then. How much of a role, or is there any role that is played in the division of this party by an extra outside hand?
With all fairness, the handshake complicated matters for Jubilee. Because, and I tell you, as a member of Jubilee Party, elected on Jubilee ticket to the people of Mono, we got confused because you do not know this competitor that we have always called names, called the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. You don't know how to treat him. You don't know how to some agenda in the house that come even at the floor of the house. You're not even sometimes sure whether they are agendas of the government or the agenda of the opposition. At the committee level, sometimes when you're making a decision, you don't know whether this is the decision of the opposition or that of government. And I think at a particular time, this needs to be cleared up. Because if I asked who is the official leader of opposition, or who is in opposition.
Let me ask you a question at that point. How do you confuse of what the roles are probably and what bills are being sponsored by the government or otherwise, if at all the House leadership is in order, the party leadership is in order, the interest of the party is well stipulated, if not stated?
You stated very clearly that there has been an internal disorder. And this internal disorder, I dare say, is one that has brought this confusion. And that is why, if you read what the chief whip was saying, that there was a feeling that even the leadership at Parliament was not conveying the message of the party. And I'm saying that the disorder that needs to be corrected. And that is the direction that we need to be clear about. What is the government direction? Which is the government stand? Which is the party's stand? And until that time we have that conversation, then we are going to continue being confused. But the conversation as Jubilee we should have is, which way are we going? How do we communicate with each other? How do we talk to each other? How do we forge a common ground like we promised our electors? And unfortunately, that is yet to happen.
All right, let me ask you this final question. I understand we are out of time. Nonetheless, which way for the ruling party then? What should the people who trusted this party look out for at this time?
At this particular time, we are looking at our party leader, we are looking at our deputy party leader for direction. Tell us what you want us to do. Tell us how we are going to help the people of the Republic of Kenya as we promised. And many of us are ready to support that agenda because that is what we went and promised our people. That is the thing that I promised the people of Molo. And this is part that I asked what we do. So it's upon us to wake up call to members of Jubilee. Let us wake up, let us get organized, let us get focused, let's have a strategy and let us work together. We cannot afford to be divided at this particular time.
And if what we are seeing now continues, the purge, of course, the majority whip hinting that it will go more than the corridors of parliament to parastatals, to any institution that feels as though the executive feels as though the confidence is low at, should we look out for more action?
I think whatever we saw has been just a tip of the iceberg, and yes, we expect there's going to be casualties. My only plea would be that parts be objective, so that when you're looking at the leadership of the houses, when you're looking at the politically given positions, that's a different story. But if you're talking about parastatals, institutions that directly deliver services to the people, then the issue of party affiliation should not even play at hand at that particular time, or about loyalty to a particular direction. That should be based on competence and the ability of those leaders in these parastatals to deliver services to the people of the Republic of Kenya.
Kimani Kuria, Molo Member of Parliament, thank you for making time for us this evening.
You're very welcome, Obaka. Thank you very much. And again, Eid Mubarak.